Hiya folks and welcome back. I hate reveal videos because I never feel like a project is 100% finished. But at some point we need to draw a line under this, and I know a lot of you want to see how our self-build extension turned out. Just to give you a bit of background, this was our first major building project where we managed the whole job from start to finish. We've refurbished a lot of houses over the years, but have always outsourced the building work to a central contractor. This time, because of various builder problems and extortionate quotations, we ended up taking the plunge to manage things ourselves, and I can honestly say it's the best thing we've ever done on a renovation. To all the diligent builders out there, fear not, there's only a handful of us stupid enough to take on a project like this, and I'm really hoping this series has opened people's eyes as to how hard being a builder actually is. We have a climate of soaring costs, global material shortages, and a dire lack of skilled workers who actually give a damn. This is resulting in builds that would have previously taken 3 to 4 months taking well over a year. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that it's significantly easier to build an entirely new house from scratch than it is to build a reasonably sized extension onto an older property. Building stuff is hard. Having said that, if you're organised, have a good idea of how houses are put together, and have excellent contacts in the trade, then we all have to start somewhere. You've been warned though, it's not for the faint-hearted. So this is a relatively simple extension to a 3-bedroom semi-detached house. We're building above the garage to make a larger 3rd bedroom with ensuite, and we're also adding a 4 metre by 8 metre single-storey extension to the rear for a new kitchen diner. The overall build is around 49 square metres, but that includes rebuilding the garage from the ground up. In terms of overall room sizes, the house was about 80 square metres and we're taking it up to about 118 square metres, which is roughly a 50% increase. I'll break down what this actually cost us on a future video, so don't forget to hit subscribe, but we were getting quotations well in excess of £120,000 for this work. Some quoted as much as £140,000 for a bare shell extension, in other words no kitchen, no bathroom, no flooring, just bare plastered walls ready for us to fit out. This was a non-starter, as we'd end up in serious negative equity. We did find a builder quoting roughly half that. They had 5-star ratings on Facebook, but it turned out all their reviews were fake. Long story that we'll save for a future video. Suffice to say, it was a lucky escape, and they would appear to have gone out of business. And no, I would never name and shame. I have no idea what was going on in their lives that led to things going so horribly wrong. We must have contacted another 10 builders. Most didn't get back to us at all. A couple said they didn't want to take on a job like this, and as I say, the ones who did actually give us a quote were insanely expensive. Through my own contacts in the trade, we were very fortunate to find an amazing bricklayer who had 2 stipulations. He was very strict about the fact that he wouldn't be running the project. All he wanted to do was turn up and lay bricks, no ordering of materials, no coordinating other trades, and he wanted me to be his labourer. I was more than happy with this arrangement and the dream team was born. He had the entire superstructure built in just 13 days. His work was exceptional, a true craftsman who really cared about every detail. So as I say, I hate doing cheesy reveal videos, but hopefully you can learn something from this, even if it's what not to do. So welcome to the finished extension. We are so excited that this is finally finished. It's been a fun project, to be honest. All the last little finishing touches is the thing that took the longest. First of all, you will notice that I haven't bothered building a custom unit for this corner. We ended up buying this radiator cover just as a bit of a stopgap, and actually we thought it looked really good and that the whole area would look best with something a little bit less formal than a built-in unit. And what we've ended up doing is using the scaffold boards that were actually used as part of the build on this project. We've ended up using those as shelves, and it just kind of means there's a bit of history and a bit of meaning behind this stuff, because literally every single little mark, cut marks from the still saw, everything like that, it's all part of this build. Working our way around, we've got the American fridge freezer. This is just a Samsung job. It is awesome, and we use the ice maker and water chiller literally every day. The only slightly disappointing thing about this particular one, it didn't come with a drip tray for water, which, come on Samsung, sort that out. Apart from that, we're really happy with it. We've had good experiences with Samsung fridges in the past, not sponsored. We've got the tall top box above the fridge freezer, which is just used for kind of storing stuff that you don't use very often. Then we've got a tall larder unit to the right. These are all extra high cupboards, by the way. They're not your normal height because we've got so much ceiling height to play with. We could go for the extra high ones. And then you'll notice we've got no wall units at all. And the reason that we don't need them, this tall larder unit stores the equivalent of at least 7 600 wide base units in one single cupboard. It was a bit of a challenge to fit, but it's an absolute game changer, and we've got LED lighting in it as well. Microwave lives in there, recycling lives at the bottom, and as you can see, we're not even close to using up all of the available space in that cupboard. I'm not going to dwell on the actual drawers and all that too much because we covered that on the kitchen install video, which if you haven't seen that, I'll include a link down in the description. But you probably hadn't seen the range all installed. So this is just a stove's electric range, but with a gas hob. We still prefer cooking on a gas hob, and it does give us a little bit of redundancy if we do end up getting power outages. Didn't think I would be saying that. We just went for a glass splashback, and obviously we've got the stainless steel extractor hood as well. Briefly touched on the corner shelves earlier, again all made from reclaimed scaffold boards from our actual build. And by the way, no, we didn't nab these from the scaffolder. We had our own boards for a lot of the work that we were doing. White quartz worktops, and you've already seen the sink install and all that sort of thing. A couple of people said that the sink's too small. It's not. We're not sacrificing bench space for a sink that literally never gets used because we've got a dishwasher. These stools are a little bit temporary. We picked them up off Facebook Marketplace, and we needed something for the breakfast bar. Ideally we'd have 3 stools here, but we couldn't find 3 matching ones that we're happy with. For now, we've saved these going to the tip, and they look fine and they're comfortable and work really well. But as I say, ideally we'd have another stool at the end here. And then through to the dining room side, again, we picked up this solid oak table and chairs off Facebook Marketplace as well. It needed a bit of TLC. We stripped it right back, re-oiled it. Mrs. Mac re-waxed all the chairs. We actually used Keith from Rag and Bone Browns. We used his own hard wax oil that he sells. Worked really, really well. We found it worked much, much better than normal wax. So I'll include a link to that down in the description. And of course, we've got the piano back as well. And it's been retuned and everything. The poor thing's been in storage for the best part of 2 years. And bearing in mind the hot summer that we had, it's been in a solid steel storage container. It must have been 40 or 50 degrees in there, and it survived amazingly well. I'm so glad that we went for the vaulted ceilings over the flat roof, because the light that comes into here and the kind of head height that you get from having the vaulted ceilings as well, it makes such a big difference. Obviously, we've got the lights on at the minute just for showing you the place, but through the day, you don't need any lights on. Everything is just such a nice, bright light in here. And then at night time, the room takes on an entirely different kind of vibe. One thing we did do is replace the bulbs that came with the extractor, because the ones that came with it were incredibly poor quality, like just mass-produced junk basically. And one of them blew within a matter of hours of switching it on for the first time. So we replaced both of those with slightly better quality LED bulbs. Other than that, the extractor itself is absolutely fine, works great. I'll not fully open the bifolds. Oh, I've left a sticker on, look at that. Last sticker that. I'll not fully open the bifolds because it's blowing a gale out there. You've seen them open, but in the summer this is amazing. And we've also just temporarily shoved some gravel down where the decking is going to be going. The decking's a project for next year. We just haven't got time to tackle it this year. We figured 100 quid for a bit of gravel, 2 ton of gravel, and it just kind of stops mud being dragged into the house. But eventually the decking will run out at the same level as the internal floor, and we've deliberately designed it with a really big overhang on the eaves so that we shouldn't have any problems with rain bouncing back and causing any damp problems or anything like that. And by the way, the big overhangs, I can't recommend it highly enough. It's worked so well. Even when it's biblical rain outside, windows aren't getting wet at all, and it just solves a whole load of issues that you can potentially run into with damp and things like that. So if you are considering a project like this, do speak to your architect and ask them for the biggest overhangs that you can possibly get. Ours are probably about, I think they're 400 mil off the top of my head. Maybe 500, they're pretty big. Our main kitchen waste bin, we've just gone for the Herfella, this is a 30 litre in unit one that we've gone for. This is actually split into a 10 and a 20. We don't generally use the 10 litre section unless it's summertime, and then we use that for composting, but we don't tend to use that in the winter. And then we've got the 20 litre section at the front, which works absolutely fine for us. Dead easy to fit. I think it was only about 50 quid or something from Screwfix. So yeah, just keeps the bin out the road. Just to explain the lighting very quickly as well, we've put a lot of effort into getting the insulation right in this property. So we've got a completely unpierced vapour barrier, and we've obviously got like a lot of insulation in this ceiling, and we didn't want to degrade that by having downlights. I do generally prefer downlights because I do think they look awesome. The only way really we could have done it properly in this space would have been to build a framework so that you'd have a cavity between the ceiling and the insulation to allow ventilation of the downlights, because pretty much every downlight that we looked at, even the really slimline flush mount ones, still said you can't put them embedded in insulation. You've got to have at least, like, I think it was a minimum of about 20 or 30 mil above it, and that would have meant hacking into the insulation and through the vapor barrier as well. So we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to do the framework to bring the ceiling down, because we felt that it would make the ceiling a little bit too low on this side. I mean, I still can't reach the ceiling there. And in the end, it meant going for surface mount lights across the board. And to be honest, we're really happy with it anyway. We've just got 4 pendant lights in the middle. These were just from Amazon. I'll include links in the description. We've got a bulkhead light over there. Again, link in the description for that. And then we've got adjustable spots. They're just GU10s. 2 on that side of the room and 2 on the far side of the room, and then that just gives a little bit of directional light. Plus we've got the hob lights as well and some little accent lights and things. So we were kind of going for a farmhouse kitchen feel, but with a modern kind of contemporary, slightly industrial twist to it, and we really like it. I think it works pretty well. We've got the sage green cupboards, obviously we've got the quartz worktop, the oak floors, slightly industrial lighting, and above all, we've got our views out to the garden. The third bedroom was small to start with, and we made it even smaller by eating into it to make the family bathroom bigger. So in the end, we took the side of the house off and extended this bedroom over the garage. So this is our new master bedroom. So this was the old end of the house here. So everything from this side onwards is new, basically. So without doing this, there literally wouldn't have been room for a king-size bed in here. There's absolutely no way. Even a single bed in the little third bedroom was a bit of a struggle. So if you imagine, the old third bedroom was basically this bit here up to this wall. And we've deliberately inset this as well, and it just gives this little extra illusion of space as you walk into the room. And it's the same reason we also wanted the ensuite door to open into the ensuite, because otherwise if that's opening outwards, and bearing in mind this is open most of the time, so if that was opening outwards, whether or not it opened kind of that way or that way, it would always be eating into the bedroom, and 90% of the time you're not in the bathroom. So it just made more sense to have the door opening inwards, have that slight little inset on the wall there. It also gives a little bit of a nod to what the house used to be like as well, which I particularly like doing that. It's a bit of history as to, you know, you can turn around at any time and say, yeah, that's where the house used to come up to. But it's just a little kind of optical illusion thing. As you first walk into the room, you can't even see this doorway just because it was being set backwards that little bit. The ceiling, by the way, hardest thing in the world to film. That's not the ceiling at the bottom there. The ceiling's up there. This is all angled down into the room, and the plasterers have done a lovely job of curving the plasterboard to blend in all the way around. So when you're kind of standing here looking at the ceiling, it actually really disguises the fact that the ceiling slopes down into the room. Carpet-wise, we decided to treat ourselves and get the lightest, fluffiest carpet that I think we've ever owned. Those with young families will know that light, fluffy carpets don't work when you've got young kids, but our kids are much older now. Not that they'll be coming in our bedroom very often, but the point is that we could get a grown-up carpet now, and this is an actual joy to walk on. When you get out of bed and you've got bare feet, I can only describe it as walking on velvet fluff. It is so comfortable to walk on, and it just makes the room feel really warm. And by the way, that neatly leads me on to something that we talked about on an earlier video, which is, oh my word, we've got carpet in the ensuite. Lots of interesting comments about that. I think what some of you are forgetting is that the ensuite is only used by me and Mrs. Mac. And the reason we wanted a fluffy carpet in the ensuite is because when you get up to go to the loo in the middle of the night, I hate walking on cold tiles. And no, I don't want underfloor heating switched on permanently just so that we've got warm tiles in the bathroom. That would be insane. We've put a lot of effort into building this house. I've got no intention of peeing all over it, and you just pee sitting down. That resolves that problem. And the other thing is, around the shower, we've always got a bath mat out, so the carpet never gets wet. But obviously, if either kids or students are going to be using a bathroom, do not put carpet in it. It's just for grown-ups. Sorry students, no offence, but you should see some of the student houses I've worked in over the years. Oh my word. We've mentioned it several times throughout the build, but there's areas of the build that we're happy to save money on and areas that we're happy to spend a bit extra money on. And in my experience, one of the areas that's definitely worth spending a few extra pennies on is decent taps. We've gone for Grower across the board, whatever brand you want to go for, it's up to you, but as long as it's a branded make. And the main reason for that is because if something breaks, if it's a branded make, you're probably going to be able to buy the spares for it like 5 years down the line very easily. If it's an unbranded make and something inside it breaks, and things do break inside taps very regularly, you're going to struggle getting hold of the parts. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, if it's good enough for hotels, it's good enough for us. A couple of people asked why we've got a threshold going into the bathroom, and I think we're approaching kind of first world problems here. Anyway, it's just because the wall on that side to the wall on that side is, oh, well, it's well over 6 meters, so you'd end up wasting an enormous amount of carpet if you ran the carpet the other way round. So yeah, a threshold running into an ensuite is pretty normal, it's not a problem. As with the rest of the house, we've insulated the living daylights out of this room, insulated under the floor because it's a garage under here, and we've actually got the best part of probably 400 or 500 millimeters of insulation in the loft. All of the edge bits are fully insulated as well, both between the rafters and over the rafters. I think we've covered that in previous videos. Obviously, we've got really efficient double glazing. We didn't go triple glazed. I think in hindsight, maybe we should have gone triple glazing, but we didn't know there was going to be an energy crisis. But plus, there were so many shortages during the build, just getting double glazing was hard enough. And by the way, when you get up in the morning, we just never tire of that view out of that window. Bearing in mind that before, there was no view out the back of the house. The window in what was the third bedroom actually looked over a brick wall on the other side. So all in all, we're really, really pleased with this room. It's really comfortable, really warm, and yeah, it's a million times better than we had before, which was no bedroom. So folks, I hope you enjoyed that. Sorry, I know it's mega cheesy, but we've got to show you kind of the finished result. Hopefully you've got a little bit of a better idea now of what's involved in a building project like this. And because this channel is all about property maintenance, it does genuinely make it a lot easier to look after a property if you understand how everything is put together. I also genuinely think over the coming years, as good tradesmen become harder and harder to get hold of, there's certainly an opportunity for people who do have a good understanding of how properties are built to manage their own projects like this. It's certainly an eye-opener for us learning what builders have to put up with on a daily basis. The only way it's financially viable on a commercial basis is if you're running several builds at the same time. So if you do have a builder that is in the middle of a build and they have to scoot off to another job, go easy on them, because that could be your job that they're scooting off to. The staging of a build and making sure that all the different aspects of construction happen at the correct time is really quite complicated. So while you might look at a building site and think, well, why is no one doing anything? Well, there could well be very, very good reasons for that. Anyway, loads more still to come on this channel, so do please hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. we're going to do a full breakdown of the costs of this project. I'm also going to explain the build timescales in a lot more detail and go through kind of the staging of what happens when. We'll have a little chat about mistakes we've made and what we would do differently next time. And I'm going to give you our top tips for finding good tradespeople and potentially a good builder if you do want someone to manage the whole project for you. Also, over on the Member Zone, there's a brand new video all about our next project that we're going to be working on. We're going to keep the next project as purely a Member Zone only series of videos. What on earth? You haven't even finished your current project. What are you doing? You'll also see the disaster we had on the day that we picked up the keys. I'm not going to go into it at all on here because we've done enough kind of renovation stuff on here. We need to get back to business as usual on this channel. And also over the Christmas period on the Member Zone, there will be a full cost breakdown for the studio room project as well. So we'll go into all of the detail of that, but it's a little bit niche for this. So we'll go over it on the Member Zone. Members.gosforthhandyman.com. It's like a whole new world of content that you haven't seen before, completely separate to YouTube. A lot of stuff that I can't even put on YouTube for various reasons. Anyway, that just leaves me to thank you for all of your kind comments and all of your views, and everyone on the Member Zone as well, everyone on the public channel, everyone who's bought Christmas jumpers and tape measures and everything from the shop. You have genuinely kept this show on the road. So thank you so much to each and every one of you. You are amazing. This will probably be the last video before the big man comes, so we'll get a few more out, hopefully between Christmas and New Year. If you've got any questions relating to this build, pop them down in the comments below and we might even cover them off in one of the future videos that's coming up. But for now, from the whole Mac family, have an absolutely fantastic Christmas. Be nice to one another, look after each other, and we shall see you next time. Tatty bye.